Hello, my bomb blowers and module masters. Today I am here with another Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes modded mod tutorial, and today I am here with the module Quaver. Quaver is a module based on the rhythm game Quaver, which I have brought the Steam page up for right now, as to display what the module is about. Quaver is a rhythm game in which arrows come flying up the screen to where you hit the arrows as they approach their respective fields at the top. And here's a gameplay example. I'm gonna mute that because of copyright. You can see the arrows go to the top, and you have to press them in order to count the notes as being hit. And you'll notice that this has a note counter displayed. This will be shown off as we do the Quaver module. Now, I will preface this tutorial by saying that I have never played Quaver in my life. I'm not really sure of the terminologies used, and I'm not really sure about the specific strategies used, which is why I contacted the author of the Quaver module before doing this tutorial, and I have some notes here to go over as I get into the tutorial. So with that out of the way, let's begin. This module does not require any edge work, and we can go ahead and get started as soon as the bomb loads in. So, this is a Quaver module. As you can see, the module starts on a difficulty selection screen where you can change the speed, difficulty, and per column. As you saw in the clip I played from the Steam page, this module is basically notes fall down the screen, and you must press them in order to count them. So you see an up arrow fell, then a down arrow, then an up arrow, and a left arrow, and this will keep going until the bottom bar reaches the end, which is basically the end of the pattern. And then a number will pop up, similar to how I did in the gameplay teaser. What you must do is enter the number of notes played throughout the entire pattern. I wasn't keeping too much of a count, so I'll give my best guess. Let's say 12. You can input notes by using the spacebar and the directional keys. And that was correct. Cool. So you may notice that this bar at the top filled. The goal of Quaver is to fill up this bar to the other side. So how do you fill this bar? This is where the difficulty selections come into place. There is a formula for how much the bar will fill upon a successful pattern solve. It is S times D times P, where speed is the exact number of the speed you use. So it can be 1.0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, all the way to 2.0. The difficulty also has an effect. Normal has a 10, hard is 20, insane is 40, and expert is noted as infinite. If you manage to get an expert input fully correct, the module will instantly solve. And then finally you have per column. If you turn it on, your multiplier is normal, but if you turn it off, then the multiplier is halved. The speed impacts how fast the notes fly down the screen. This will shorten the length of the pattern if you set the speed to higher, and it will make it longer if you set the speed to lower. What I mean by a pattern is any sequence of notes given where you have to input the number that's showed. The difficulty I have noted down here. Normal will only show singular notes. Hard may show notes of 2 at a time, which are called jumps. Insanes may play hands, which are notes of 3. And expert, the only difference between expert and insane is that expert is 3 times the length of an insane. And then finally, per column. If per column is off, you must input the number of total notes shown during the pattern, and if per column is on, you must input the specific number of notes per the specific number of left notes, the specific number of downs, the specific number of ups, and the specific number of rights. This is where the individual keys come into place. If you're playing with per column off, any of the inputs will increase the counter by 1, but if you're playing with per column on, when you get to the end, pressing space will toggle the note counter for each of the 4 arrows by 1, and pressing each individual arrow will increase that specific arrow's note counter by 1. You may have also noticed that when the mod starts, you have a scroll speed here. We can increase this to 15, and all this does is increases how fast the notes come down the screen. This does not impact the length of the song, and it's really only useful when doing expert or insane, mainly because it's easier to recognize the patterns. This doesn't really work for me, as I often just use a default number, which works pretty well. Again, I wasn't counting, so let's just enter our number. I think 11. Oh, that was correct. I'm going to do one more of this to show what happens if you get the number incorrect. So let's actually count this time. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 notes played. So let's input, I don't know, let's say I counted one twice. Let's put 13. You'll notice
I can't accept it, I'm not persuaded.
The number turned red and displayed 1. The number shows how many notes over the total that should have been for either the total number of notes or the specific arrow's number of notes. If it's negative, you put in too little notes, and if it's positive, you put in too many. Let's go ahead and mess with the settings and try to get this bar filled up a little faster. Let's put the speed up to 1.5. Let's increase the mode to insane, and now let's do it to hard for now. And let's go ahead and put per column on. And this I will show off my strategy that I often use for this module. The best way to this module is by using a Notepad++ document and noting down specific characters for left, down, up, and right. You may use A to represent left, S to represent down, K to represent up, and L to represent right. Or you may also use D for left, F for down, J for up, K for right. Whatever you use, you could even use X for left, I for down, R for up, N for right. Whatever works for you, as long as you can count the number of specific notes. If it's per column, you need to count the number of lefts, downs, up, and rights individually, but if you have per column off, then all you need to do is count the number of notes in total. I will now switch to a different scene, which just shows KTaNE and my notepad, in order to show this up more clearly. So let's play with per column off for this first one. I'm going to use D for left, F for down, J for up, and K for right. I'm going to go ahead and do this set with this specific difficulty. If we use the formula, we will be able to determine how many points this fills the bar up, and I will mention now that the bar, once you have 100 points, the module solves. So when we did this the first time, we had 1.0 speed, normal difficulty, and per column off, which meant we had 1 times 10 times 0.5. That means that the product of that, which is, I believe, 5, because 1 times 10 is 10, and 10 times 0.5 is 5, we filled the bar up by 5 points, both times we did it. With this one, we have speed 1.5, multiplied by hard, which is 20, and since we have per column off, we multiply that by 0.5, which gives us 15, meaning our bar will fill up by 15 if we get this correct. I do realize it was not showing the manual for that, but you can look in the bottom portion of the manual for bar filling formula to realize what I meant. Sorry. Anyway, let's go ahead and begin. Let me turn this down because this is what I'm used to. And as you may notice, notes of 2 are now showing up. This is unique to, not unique to hard mode, but this is introduced in hard mode. You will never have notes of 2 show up in normal mode. Likewise, if you go to insane, you may have notes of 23 show up at once. This will not happen in hard, nor will it happen in normal. It is unique to insane and expert mode. And as you can see, we have finished the sequence. And this is the length. So how do you count this without just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, blah, blah? If you're using Notepad++, you can take a look at the bottom and look at the number beside column. This gives you the total length of the string you have in that specific row. All you have to do is input this number minus 1. So we will input the number 44, and that should give us 15 points. Inputting on this module is kind of tedious, but you will get over it. I mean, you have to do that. And 44 was correct. 15 points added to the bar, which means we should have 25 points. We're a fourth of the way there. I'll go back to here. Nope, not yet. So I'll go ahead and fill this bar up fully. We have 25 points, meaning in order to get 100, we need to have 75 points. So you can set the difficulty to however you'd like, but in order to just go ahead and completely fill it up, I'm going to go ahead and do 2.0 insane on. This gives a value of 2 for the speed, times 40 for the difficulty of insane, which gives us 80, and because per column is on, we do not have it, meaning if this is successful, I will fill up the bar by 80 points. This will make the bar total to be 105, which will solve the module. And this will allow me to show off the per column strategy as well. I will go ahead and start this, and I will need to concentrate on this, as this is pretty difficult to do. And that is the end of the sequence. As you can see, because we have per column on, a number appears over all 4 of the notes. This is where the specific D, F, K, and J come in. I know that every D in this string corresponds to a left note, every F corresponds to a down, every J corresponds to an up, and every K corresponds to a right. So I can just use the count function in Notepad++ to count every time there's a D, F, K, and J inside of this string. I'll do this now. You can't see the window, but I have the find window for Notepad++ open. This can be opened by pressing Control F. I'll go ahead and press the count button with find D inside of the search bar, which gives me 21 matches in the text. We can search for F, which gives me 22 matches. Search for J, which gives me 23. And search for K, which gives me 23. And now we input the totals 21, 22, 23, 23 for the arrows. If you're doing per column, it is ideal to put the lower number first with the space bars, and then set all the other numbers individually. So for example, we'll press the space bar until we have them all set to 21, press the down button 1 time to set it to 22, and the up and right buttons 2 times to set them to 23 for each. This input is much easier than the per column off input. And that's correct, and the module is solved. Before we move on to how this is done in voice bombs, I would like to show off Expert. If you're going to do Expert, I highly recommend that you do not change the speed and you turn per column on. If you turn per column off, you're going to be inputting nearly 400 notes. That is a lot of notes to input with the spacebar. You're going to be clicking a lot of times. If you turn per column on, you just have to input the totals for each of the specific arrows. I also do not recommend you do this unless you are completely sure you can do this. I myself am not fully consistent at this yet, so I might actually screw this up, but I'm going to give it an attempt live on camera. This is triple the length of Insane, so I will be here for a while. Holy crap, I can't believe I actually did it. Good for me. So, in case, let's say you messed up. Let's say, oops, I lost track, I'm pressing buttons, and oh dear, I messed up. I am so clumsy, silly little me. If you get to this point and you're not sure of the totals, the best thing you can do is to input what you think the totals are, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. If your totals are incorrect, or you believe they're incorrect, you cannot avoid a strike at this point. You have to input numbers to progress the module, and if it's wrong, well, it's wrong. There's nothing you can do at this point. You can't go back. You're just screwed. And I may have gotten it wrong still. Just because I think I inputted them correctly doesn't mean I got them right, so... I'll go ahead and do the counting method for the insane run. Let's count the number of D's. We have 66. Oops. The number of F's is 64. The number of J is 64. And the number of K is 69. The numbers should always be in about this range of the 60s to low 70s. You'll rarely get something in the 50s. In fact, I'm not even sure that's possible, but you should get something in the range of the 60s to maybe high 70s. So we input this, we press space until down and up are 64, we press left 2 more times, and right 5 more times. And in the case you miss input, well, you're kind of screwed. We're almost there. 64, 66, and 69. And that was correct. And you will notice that I had not interacted with this module at all before, but it went ahead and solved. That is showing off how Expert instantly solves the module. Now I will go over strategies on how to do this in a voice bomb setting. As said before, by far the easiest strategy is to use Notepad++ and using the count function in Notepad++. But if you're not able to do that, there are workarounds, such as, well, people consider that not soloing the module, and some people might just say it's cheating, but there are ways to do this in a voice bomb setting. You can try and count the number of notes without Notepad++, and it's not actually hard to do. Let's say we take this setup. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the manual really quickly to calculate this number. We have a speed of 2. We have difficulty 10 and per column 0.5, which is 2 times 10 times 0.5. If we do it with these settings, we'd have to do 10 stages to solve the module. If we turn per column on, then we would only need to do it 5 times. And I'd say this is doable by yourself. Let's look at it. Let's try it for ourselves. So we have one of each, one of all. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3. So it was 2, 2, 3, 3. That was correct, and to solve the module, you just need to do that 5 more times. That is doable, but it might get monotonous, and there is a chance you might get it wrong still. But that is how you can do it without using Notepad++. Some other methods you may do, say you want to do a harder difficulty, like hard in 1.5. And let's turn per column off. If we look at the manual here, we can calculate how much this will fill the bar by. 1.5 times hard is 20. Divide that by 2 fills the bar by 15, which means we would have to do 6 generations. So let's turn per column on, actually. And this would mean we have 1.5 times 20 times 1, which is 30. This only requires, 4 generations. If we turn it up to insane, it requires, let's see, that's 1.5 times 40 times 1. This is 60, which would require 2. If we did per column off, then this would be 30, which would be 4 generations. If we turn the speed up to 2, then this, and turn it back to hard, then, let's see, 2 times 20, turn per column on means this is 4, turn per column on means this gives us 40, which would mean we need to do 2 of this, and then 1 generation that only gives you 20 points, so 1.0 hard per column is off, I believe. No, that gives you 10. 1.0 hard per column is on. So let's say we're going to take these settings and do this over a voice bomb. A way to do per column on is to say the specific, is to give each of the arrows a symbol that the expert can write down, or a name. You can use the first letter of the arrows, left as L, down as D, U, up as U, and right as R, because they are all phonetically different. L, D, U, R. They all have different sounds. This can totally work. And this is viable to do in a voice bomb setting. Let's try it out right now. This requires concentration, though. LD, UR, LDU, LR. DU, LR, DU, LRD. LUR, DL, U, DR, L, UR, D, LR, DU, L. LUR. LUD, LR. I went ahead and did DFKJ because that's what I'm used to, but that is the way to do it over voice bomb. This is a little bit tricky, but it is doable if you're not going to use Notepad++. If you're going anywhere above hard 2.0 per column on, I would not recommend doing this. I would totally recommend you do this in Notepad++. So let's go ahead and count, because we have per column, the number of individual notes. If we did not have per column on, then we would just take the column number, 44, subtract 1, 43, and we would input that. But because we're doing per column on, we have to count each individual note, which is 13, 10, 10, and 10. Let's input this. And that is a round up. And also, one thing the creator told me to mention is that Quaver's not meant to be done at once. You saw earlier with the 5 normals, which was 2.0 normal on. No, it was 1.0 normal on, I think. No, it was 2.0 normal on. This gives 2 for the speed times 10 for the difficulty, and not having because per column is on. This gives you 20. You would have to do it 5 times for the bar up. The creator told me that this is totally doable. It's meant for the diffuser to do a round of Quaver while the experts are busy doing work. We can do this one more time. And this is just meant to occupy the diffuser's attention when they have nothing to do. 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 3, 3, 1, I believe. Yep. And that is easy to do as a diffuser. You can do this 5 times, and it's not particularly difficult. This is definitely a strategy. If you're in a team bomb, then I would straight not recommend you do insane or expert. And this setting is good for people just starting out with Quaver. But if you're experienced enough to do expert, then go ahead and do expert on Notepad++. That is definitively the best strategy to do the module. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you have any advice, or are better at Quaver than I am, give more strategies for people in the comments, please feel free to do so. I don't think I covered every single thing in this tutorial. So please, add on if you would like. And with that done, I will see you guys next time.